Okay, we live. Hey, awesome. So, welcome to episode 41. A little bit delay, but technical fun. We got a bill here, which we'll get back to in a few seconds. To talk about Funqy and Lambda, and but a few news just to get started. So, anyone who've done, yeah. Well, so Steve, do you want to talk about your World Tour update?
Yeah, we've done 2 so far, which I think have gone reasonably well. We've got some more to come, of course. The big thing is, as always, if people want us to come to their jug, to reach out, email worldtour@quarkus.io. And if people would like to participate and help us run them as well, then reach out to the same email address and let us know that you're interested.
Awesome. And the other thing I want to show is that we actually moved and rearranged our Quarkus Insights. So before all the episode and stuff was in Quarkus, the website somewhere hidden. Now I have a repository called Quarkus Insights. And in here you can see the issue list, which is basically all the episodes that we have and what you can vote up and down. And if you go back here, there's a product board. Whoop. Where you can see all the different episodes. We actually have like Funqy and Quarkus and different episodes planned out for the next couple of months.
You have some serious PM skills there, Max.
We hope. But no, so like for the first time ever, we actually have like 6 episodes planned out. So you can go look. And as always, just open an issue if you have an idea or vote them up, the ones you have. We do look at them and then try and see what we can find. So yeah. And like for the example, next week, the Quarkus 1.3 is out. No, 1.3.
113. You took us a year back.
Yeah, sorry. Good old memories. And then I think Stuart is going to come on. We have a lot of the development experience stuff coming. It's going to be fun.
That stuff's going to be cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the testing stuff is there, which is the one you think about, but the other stuff is there.
He'll have something done by then. Come on.
He'll show it from his branch. Don't worry about it.
And then the other thing is we actually also tomorrow, me and Georgios and Jason is going to be on the stream with the GraalVM guys tomorrow night. So if you want to see more of us the same week, then you can go there. So anyway, I think that was the news. So back to you, Bill. So who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
So some of the stuff I've done in the past at Red Hat, I was the founder of the Keycloak project and Rest Easy. I don't know if anybody's coded in JaxRS, but I was on the JaxRS spec 2, and I wrote an O'Reilly book on that as well called Restful Java. And people still buy it. I can't believe it.
Oh, no.
8 years later, people are still buying it.
Is it up to date with what Rest Easy Reactive can do?
No.
No.
It's 8 years old.
That works. Awesome.
Just goes to show you how great JaxRS is, though.
Yeah.
Still buying the book 8 years later.
True.
That works.
But, some of the stuff I work on now is I work on a lot of serverless stuff at Quarkus. Our Lambda integration, shared functions, that sort of stuff. And I'll be talking a little bit about that today, I guess. That's what you wanted, Max, right?
That's what everyone. It was actually the Funqy and Lambda is the one that we've had repeatedly asked for. So we had so that's what we have now. And for everyone who's listening, just ask a question in chat, and then we'll disturb Bill, so he'll get all confused and ask him a question. But yeah, so Bill, you wanted to show something about Lambda first, I think, and then.
I mean, you said people want to hear about Funqy, but I think what we'll do first is I'll give some overview of what we have in Lambda integration first, because the Funqy stuff is built on top of it.
Yep. I just realized you haven't shared your screen yet, just so you're aware.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, sure.
So our Lambda stuff, we got 2 different flavors of it. One is I'll show you right now is ooh, let me share screen first. You guys see that? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, cool. See that okay?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
All right, so first thing we have is basic Lambda integration. So we can hook in Quarkus into Lambda. So you can use Quarkus in your Lambda implementations. So what I have here is this code right here is a simple example of a Lambda. It's really just a greeting Lambda. You send in some JSON that represents a person, just their name, and it just returns a response saying hello, whoever you are. So what's cool about Quarkus is like, so Lambda has 2 different runtimes. It has multiple runtimes for different languages. Of course, it has one for Java, but it also has a custom runtime too. And what we can do with Quarkus is we can actually, if we go to our POM here, you'll see that I added a Quarkus Amazon Lambda dependency, and I also added the Quarkus Maven plugin. And just doing that, I can take this Lambda here and I can actually compile it with Graal to a native executable and deploy it to something AWS has called a custom Lambda runtime. So with a custom Lambda runtime, you can really zip up and publish any language, any executable that can be run as a Lambda. And we've done that integration. So just adding those POM bits there, I can compile it, maybe clean, install mysd native. If I did that, it would run up, boot up Graal, compile this Lambda, create an executable, and generate some extra some scripts that we have to help you integrate with Lambda better. And I can run this Lambda as a native executable. What's great about I don't want to actually in the past I've done presentations on this, and I've actually demoed this, but I get a little nervous because one of my presentations I guess my free AWS installation was kind of slow, so I don't want to go through that. But if you actually like compared like a regular Lambda.
Oh
wow.
We lost Bill.
Seems like we lost Bill. Yeah.
So he didn't want to. That's why he didn't want to do a demo. Let's go back at. Oh, there you go. Hey, Bill. We just lost you for 2 seconds.
Oh crap! All right.
So you were just saying if you compare this to a normal Lambda, then boom.
Okay, so if you compare if you compare the native deployment of a Lambda with the Java-based one, it's about a third of the memory and about third or fourth of the startup time. So I mean, the memory is really the really important thing because you're billed by, as far as I know, you're billed by both memory and CPU time on Lambdas. So so that's a cool thing you get out of the box just by adding the dependencies to your POM and using the Quarkus Maven plugin.
So in this case, you're just using, like, let's say normal the program out model that whatever Lambda has, and we just made it compatible.
Yeah. Cool. So you see, like when you write a Lambda, it's a request handler interface, and you just implement it. It can be whatever input and output you want.
Got it.
But another cool thing about the Quarkus integration, so we have that basic bringing in Graal, making it easier for you to bring in Graal and turn things into native executables. But the more important thing is you bring in the Quarkus environment, the Quarkus APIs and things like that. So what's cool about that, so we have this Lambda here. This Lambda is actually will be controlled by Quarkus. So we can do things like, let's say this this little code here. Let's say I want to create a service for that. I can do that. So if I go here, greeting service, I'll make that application scoped. Let's cut and paste this. Make that public. And I can go back to my Lambda and I can inject that service. So we got CDI injection into your Lambdas. And what this allows you to do is bring in everything about Quarkus that you might need. Maybe you have a client that's talking to Kafka, or maybe you want to use Hibernate to talk to a database that you have on your AWS network. You can do that sort of thing.
Yeah. By the way, I'm not sure if you saw it, Bill, but William actually said he has both of your books.
Oh, cool.
Oh. Rest easy is awesome. So yeah. Hey.
So yeah, so see, I can just inject in service, and bam, I can get all the injection and access to all the other Quarkus components and stuff. So that's the first integration point we have with Lambda. We have some of this with some of the other cloud function environments, like Azure Functions, Google Cloud Functions, and we also have some stuff that we do with Knative Cloud Events as well. I'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. So that's our first integration point with Lambda. Another integration point we have is we integrate with API Gateway in the two different flavors of it, the HTTP gateway and the REST gateway. And what's cool about that is you can deploy existing JAX-RS services, existing servlets, existing Spring MVC endpoints. You can deploy them as Lambdas as is. So, for example, I have a example here. Where is it? Lambda HTTP. Okay. So here, if you're familiar with JAX-RS, I got a simple JAX-RS service here. I can deploy this as a Lambda, as is. I don't have to add any code or anything. All I got to do is add the Quarkus Amazon Lambda HTTP dependency.
Nice.
And I can compile this, and we generate. If anybody's done any AWS Lambda work, there's something called SAM. SAM is some deployment descriptors that allow you to map things into a Lambda environment, and we actually generate some SAM YAML files that map API gateway to Lambda. And what's cool about this is you're not limited to one endpoint. So if I wanted to add a post endpoint, for instance, here, if I wanted to add that to this environment, I could have multiple endpoints and deploy them as a Lambda. And with the API gateway Lambda integration, it'll direct all HTTP requests, and we can dispatch them to any JAX-RS endpoint or serverlet endpoint or Vertex endpoint or REST-AZ reactive endpoint within the Lambda deployment. So
Okay,
you don't. Go ahead. Sorry.
So just so what you're doing is like, yeah, first of all, like you can do all this stuff by hand, but you just automate it, right? That's what the Quarkus magic is, automating the generation, and then is it also
the deployment you can do by hand, but we have special integration with Lambda to be able to do this.
Okay.
I mean, I can actually show you. I think I have it up somewhere. Let me see. Yeah. So if you're interested in the way it works, it's really simple. Like, so internally we have a Lambda implements a request handler, and for input it receives API gateway v2 HTTP event. So this is the event you get from Lambda. It's just a JSON representation of an HTTP request.
Yeah.
And the output is an API gateway v2 HTTP response. So these are like standard AWS Lambda SDK classes.
Yeah. Right.
And what we do is we unpack them and we turn them into a Netty request. And we put that Netty request directly on the Netty event bus. And what's cool about that is all of our stuff in Quarkus, anything HTTP based, is Netty based. So anything that understands Netty, you can anything that understands Netty HTTP will be automatically integrated with this Quarkus extension.
Okay, then that works well.
So we have this really simple one class integration with Lambda. Unpacks the API gateway HTTP JSON object, unpacks it, turns it into a Netty request, puts it on the bus. And so that means Vertex Web you can deploy Vertex Web as Lambdas. You can deploy servlets, JAX-RS, REST-AZ reactive. What other stuff do we have at HTTP? Doesn't our microprofile messaging that has an HTTP binding as well? So you can use that. All that stuff you get because of this little extension. You can hook into. And deploy them as Lambdas.
So that's cool. That's the power, basically, of having everything go through the same I/O layer, right? You could
correct, yeah.
That's just plain awesome.
But yeah, I didn't actually know the runtime side here, so I thought the most stuff you actually did was all the packaging stuff. But you saw me here. This is it's simple, but it's a little piece of runtime code that makes it that we can fit everything in. That's pretty cool.
I mean, this stuff is it's almost 2 years old, but it wasn't simple to implement. Like, I mean, it's what this class here is. The integration point is simple, but Stuart had to do some work to
make it happen.
To make it happen on the what's our servlet container implementation? I forget.
Undertow.
Oh yeah, Undertow. He had to do some work on Undertow to get Undertow to work. I had to do some Netty hacks to get this to work, but. Yeah, we had to do some refactoring of Quarkus to make this happen. Because what happened is, like, when we did this a couple of years ago, not everything was under Vertex. So like we have Vertex Web, and then really everything runs underneath it. No, well, we have Netty, Vertex Web, and then everything runs underneath Vertex Web. So our servlet container, JAX-RS, etc. So
I got a question. I'm not sure how to interpret it. He says microcoding says, can you explain about multi-tenancy?
Multi-tenancy. Sorry, I got to put my glasses on, my old man glasses. I don't know. He's gonna have to say what he means by multi-tenancy.
Yeah. So Micro, if you can outline a bit more what you're asking for, then we can do it. All right. You stopped sharing your screen, Bill?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I wanted to read this stuff.
Okay.
All right. So what do we have? We have you can write lambdas and pull in Quarkus. You can take existing microservices and deploy them as lambdas. So the next thing that we were like, hey, we got all these different function environments out there. We got AWS Lambda, we got Google Cloud Functions, we got Azure Functions, we got even Knative as well, Knative Eventing. So what do we do? Like, maybe it would be cool if we wrote a portable function framework, and then maybe if you're coding on lambdas and AWS jacks up their prices, you can move to a cheaper platform. Because I mean, think about what happened with Oracle back in the day. Like, everybody got hooked on Oracle database, and when Oracle needs to make their numbers, they jack up the prices. So I guarantee AWS is going to do the same thing 10 years from now when they want to make their numbers. So we thought, hey, we're middleware guys. We do that. We've done this sort of stuff forever. Let's have a portable framework. Let's have a portable API that we can deploy to all these different different cloud environments. And that's where the Funqy framework came in. So
you have to share a screen again, by the way.
Yeah. Yep. I'm gonna share again.
There we go.
Is it shared? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Okay, so let me go to Funqy. So no, I'll do Funqy Lambda. Okay, so the deal with Funqy is it's minimal. So I'm getting old, and I kind of want to reduce the frameworks I want to deal with, and I can't remember anything anymore because I'm so old. So I want to reduce the APIs that I have to interact with, and so I want to make things as simple as possible, as minimal as possible. And that's where Funqy comes in. Funqy looks a lot like Lambda in that it has one input parameter and one output parameter, and it's annotated with @func.
All right, that's simple.
That's it. And what's cool about it being so minimal is it becomes a lowest common denominator. And when you have a lowest common denominator, I can take this one function and I can deploy it to multiple different environments. I can deploy it to Lambda, I can deploy it to Azure Functions, and I can deploy it to Google Cloud Functions, and I can also accept cloud events in a Knative environment. This one little function here can be deployed to all those different environments. This one piece of code. So that's the idea with it. So because it's so minimal, it's really easy to create adapters for all these different cloud functions. On the flip side, it's the lowest common denominator. So all you're going to have is one input, one output.
Sure.
So anyway, I can take just by going to my POM here. My current dependency is Quarkus, Funqy, Amazon Lambda, and this will allow me to deploy to Lambda. It'll generate some Lambda shell scripts to make it easier for you to deploy. It'll generate some deployment descriptors if you want to use SAM, and do all that fun extra stuff for you. So that's what this extension will do. If I change this function to Azure Functions or our Google Cloud Functions artifact or our Knative one, we could deploy that to it'll generate all the code needed and all the deployment descriptors and bring in all the libraries that you need to deploy to those particular environments. So you can write this one function, you can deploy it into multiple environments.
All right, we got a question from Bill, another Bill. He says, well, I can read it for you. If you're abstracting a REST service, can you still manipulate headers and other HTTP stuff?
Okay, so if we go back to the Lambda stuff, so this is all JAX-RS. JAX-RS, you can do anything with JAX-RS that you want and deploy it as a Lambda. So yeah, you can manipulate. This function here, this REST endpoint here, I could do HTTP parameter. What was it? Header param. Sorry, I don't even remember. JAX-RS. And I could say what content type if I wanted to inject content type.
Yeah.
So yeah, I whatever JAX-RS can do, whatever servlet can do, whatever Vertex Web can do, is available in a Lambda environment. Was that hopefully that was what you're asking?
Well, I think he's asking for in Funqy.
Yeah.
Oh, and Funqy. Okay, yeah. So all right, so let's get back to Funqy. So again, Funqy has all these different bindings as a Lambda, Google Cloud Functions, etc. It also has an HTTP binding. And again, we want to keep things minimal. Funqy isn't an HTTP framework. It's a function framework. So except again, so you're not going to be able to access HTTP artifacts within a Funqy function. If you want to access things like HTTP headers and stuff like that, then you should probably use JAX-RS or Servlet or Vertex Web.
Okay, but there's not a Funqy wrapper around servlets. So you've done it for Lambda, right? Like you've gone from Lambda to all the stuff Quarkus can do. We don't have a Funqy to all the stuff that Quarkus can do.
Correct. So Funqy does have an HTTP binding, so you could deploy this function in expose it via HTTP, and we have a default way of accessing this, invoking on this function. Basically, it would be post to /myfunqygreeting, whatever the name of the function is, and you would post and it right now it only accepts JSON. So whatever the JSON representation is of person, that's what you would have to post to that HTTP endpoint. Hopefully that makes sense.
Okay.
Another thing we have for the HTTP binding is you could also make a GET request to this function, and the properties of person you could put as query parameters in the URL. So we have that. We have that way of invoking on the Funqy function as well. Okay.
Got it. So yeah, so if you want to do like specialized HTTP stuff, you should use the platform specific HTTP, like either Lambda or Amazon, Lambda or Azure functions.
Yeah.
But if you just want to do like, input, output, and process stuff, then you can do Funqy, and that will work on all the different platforms.
So yeah. So again, like the idea of Funqy is that it's the lowest common denominator that we can deploy to all these different function environments.
Yes. Okay.
And also for me, as a guy that's been doing middleware for a long time, I want something minimal. For a remote framework, I want something really, really simple. I don't want to deal with all that extra APIs anymore because I can't remember them anymore. I'm losing my mind.
That's
but anyway, yeah, I guess one more thing I can show you with Funqy is we have some. So we're not sure how popular Funqy is going to be. So if you actually go to our issues, most of the issues we have are around our direct AWS Lambda integration. So our direct AWS Lambda integration seems to be the most popular Quarkus integration point for Lambda. Yep. Either that or it's the most buggy part of this stuff. So, but I'm guessing it's the most popular because that's what usually happens. The more people use it, the more features they want, the more bugs they find. So, but anyway, so I'm not sure how popular Funqy is, but where it's going to become important, it's actually kind of turning into our Quarkus' integration point with Knative and Cloud Events. Yep. So we have some extra integration with Funqy and Cloud Events. So right here we have a basic Funqy function. And it has a default binding with Cloud Events, so you can post a Cloud event of a specific type. And if that Cloud event type is named my Cloud event greeting,
Bill,
it'll route.
Just to get even me, like, can you just give what's a Cloud event? That might not be something everyone listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I guess I assumed everybody knew what I was talking about. So Knative is a sub-project in Kubernetes, and basically if I describe this wrong, I apologize, but basically Knative is their serverless offering within Kubernetes. And one of the things it can do is it can trigger the spin up of a container based on an event, whether it be an HTTP request or a Kafka event. I think they have some other bindings as well.
Yeah, camel and stuff. Yeah.
But an additional thing they have onto spinning up a container based on an event, they also have a protocol, a JSON protocol called Cloud Events. So if you actually did a Google search of Cloud Event specification, you would get a specification of it, and it would be basically a binding of how do you a specific protocol for posting events to Knative. It's kind of like their messaging system. So Knative Cloud Events is kind of like the messaging layer for Kubernetes. Okay.
Got it. Yeah, got it.
All right, so let's get back. So how does Funqy integrate with that? So
oh wow, there it goes again.
That's his. Every time he starts talking, there we go.
As a client.
So sorry.
What happened? What?
Yeah, you just lost. I don't know why you come back again. So you're just saying, you explain Cloud Native, and then you're gonna say Funqy, and then you dropped for 2 seconds.
Okay. So,
yeah. You need to have a bigger internet connection at home.
I think it's you.
Could be.
No, it
Go
probably is
go-
me. I'm just
Go
joking.
ahead.
All right, so where was I? So we have this Knative messaging system called Cloud Events that comes with Kubernetes and Knative, and Funqy has a default binding for that. So the way you post Cloud Events is they have a specific Cloud event type associated with it, and Funqy out of the box has a default mapping for that. So basically, your cloud event type would be a cloud event greeting, the name of the function you're deploying, and you could post messages to Knative with that specific type, and it'll be routed to this Funqy function. And we have some additional annotate. Oh, go ahead.
You don't have to do anything else. Like it's just purely on the name mapping, like default mapping.
So this, we have a default name mapping, but you can also we have an annotation that you can use called cloud event mapping.
Okay.
And you can specify a trigger, which is the cloud event type, and whatever it is. It could be some event stream. That could be the name of the type.
Cool.
And you can there's some other things you can map as well that are specific to cloud events. So you can do this via an annotation, via a Quarkus property, and I think you can do it with environment variables as well. So if you wanted to do that, so you don't have to bring in the notion of cloud events into a Funqy function if you wanted to keep this portable. So you could take that configuration, take that cloud event mapping, and pull it into configuration or into deployment environment variables.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and then Bill is asking any AWS mapping like Event Bridge
for Funqy, no. Again, Funqy is very minimal, so it's pretty easy to write a binding. So if that's something that the community sort of asks for on our dev list and stuff, we'll do it.
All right, so Bill Gawking, go ask for it or submit a PR.
I think like a question that other people might have as well, like I know I did seeing this, is like, how do I test this? I mean, like it's so easy to write, but how do I make sure that I didn't do something stupid? How do I like integration test it and make sure that the everything actually works, right?
Okay, so with Funqy, you can actually just use the HTTP binding to invoke on it if you wanted to. If you're deploying it as a Lambda, if you want to we have a test harness client for Lambda that sort of simulates Lambda. So a lot of people use that for our Lambda integration. I'm not sure for Azure Functions, we're kind of stuck with HTTP right now, so it's all an HTTP client. Google Cloud Functions, I didn't write that binding, so I'm not exactly sure what we have there. But at least for Lambda, we do have a client test harness that sort of mimics Lambdas. It's not perfect, but it can run locally. Okay,
yeah, right. I think that's what most people want, right?
And I haven't really used it that much, but the SAM deployment framework that comes with the AWS Lambda that you can get for AWS Lambda, it allows you to run stuff locally as well within a container, so it can mimic the local environment for AWS Lambda. And I'm pretty sure Azure Functions has something like that as well. I don't know if Google does. Okay. They're pretty new, so maybe they don't. I don't know.
And by the way, Bill, not sure if Bill misunderstood us. He said he would go and ask AWS to support cloud events, but he wasn't sure they'll listen. So, but just Bill, just to make sure, like it was.
I agree. I don't think they'll. Why would they listen? Everybody's using the AWS APIs and services, so why would they listen?
So, but
I think for them.
I think
maybe I'm challenging them right now. AWS. Don't be a lock-in. Don't lock in everybody. Use a portable protocol like Cloud Events.
Yeah. Or Bill, go and ask on Quarkus Dev or on GitHub if we could add a event bridge to Funqy. Right. That was the thing.
Yep.
So yeah. No, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Well, not fun. I'm not sure it's fun is the right word. Interesting with the whole, all the lambdas. It just seem to be a very big vendor login. So, but yeah, that's good for them.
Yeah.
Welcome
Well,
to the
that's
club.
huge for them.
Maybe I should say like some of the bugs we have a lot about Lambda is that people are letting lambdas with the AWS SDK, like S3 events or like Dynamo events and that sort of thing. Because the way we wrap it, we use JSON under the covers to convert the JSON into the class.
Yeah.
And some of the AWS SDK classes, like S3 event, for instance, don't work well with Jackson. So that's a lot of the bugs we get is, this specific AWS SDK class does not work. So we have to do something custom there because
okay.
they don't map well with Jackson.
Okay. Is there anything else like in all this, like you said Lambda and Azure and others, like any pro and cons or challenges that are different between the two, or it's just the same kind of thing?
Well, with Azure, we're stuck with HTTP right now. Like with Azure, like they don't have any hooks for us to be able to use injection and stuff like that with their APIs. Like, let me share the screen again.
Yeah.
So no, that's not it. So you see here we have a Lambda and we can inject something. With the Azure Functions equivalent, we can't do that. There's no way to wrap the creation of their object, so we can't use injection. So what you're stuck with Azure, you're stuck with using JAX-RS. Well, that's a good thing, honestly. You're stuck if you're deploying Azure function right now. We're stuck with using JAX-RS or Vertex Web or something like that, because they have no hooks or a way to wrap a function call or integration points to hook into the object lifecycle.
So Azure, they require Azure functions. They require to be the one creating the thing. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
that's
a limitation with Azure functions. I think the Knative stuff is pretty slick. All the Kubernetes stuff is pretty slick because, like, just for them in general, like, they focus not on the APIs or the runtime. They focused on how do I start up a container based on an event, which gives us developers, us middleware developers, us framework developers, a ton of flexibility. So I feel like of all the function environments, Kubernetes has done it the right way. And Knative, they've done it the right way. And I kind of wish everybody else would follow suit with them. I know. I think Lambda has a way to do containers now. I haven't used it yet, but I kind of hope everybody follows the Kubernetes model there.
Cool. And how about there's something about streaming, right? Right now it's all input and output. Was there anything about streaming? Like there was a limitation in Funqy of streaming. You talked about.
Yeah. Right now we don't offer input output stream.
Okay.
As parameters, you can't do that. Reason for that is I kind of didn't want to go low level. I wanted something that was. I guess we could add it. I think a couple of people have asked for it, and one of our contributors was, and I think that's in the works.
Yeah. All right. Anything else we want to show? People are very quiet today. So, Bill, if you have more questions, Bill Gocking, more questions, or Micro, who's there? Then
do you have any experience with people that have actually used Lambdas in production?
Me? People that just go on the issue list and type Lambda, and
you see
everybody's using it.
Everybody, okay.
There's tons of people. It is by far the most popular serverless thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't get. I don't. It's probably 90% of the questions I get is on Lambda.
Wow.
90% of the issues is Lambda, so it's very popular.
What do you think, Steve?
I assume they're using it in production because we're getting a ton of questions.
I mean, the number of people I talk to, yeah, pretty much everybody's got some Lambda solution somewhere. They don't do much with it, but it's all that I've got something I want to do once a month, and I just a small function, so why not? It's there.
Go for it. Cool. And what? So anything else, Bill? Or is that the only 3 things you've done? No.
That's all I do. This minimal framework that accepts one input and one.
I want to know where does the name come from?
Funqy, I don't know. I just
it came up.
Functions, Funqy, Quarkus, Q. So
talking over a bit.
Bill hasn't mentioned it, but I'm going to mention something that Bill did that I was really excited about, and I hope to see more of in the future. Bill created a JSON parser and a marshalling and unmarshalling layer for Quarkus that is called QSON. So basically, think of it as like Jackson, very, very light and very, very well integrated with Quarkus. So for example, like when I was testing out like REST Easy Reactive, when I added Jackson, because that's like thousands of classes, right? Quarkus would take like 100 milliseconds extra to start just because of Jackson. If you substitute that with QSON, it's like all that extra startup time goes away. Your memory size is much better. So that's amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's why I started, because like I was trying to debug why the startup time for a Jackson REST service in Quarkus, and I was like, wow, Jackson takes up 25% of the time for boot.
Yeah.
So I was like, hey, I prototyped it, and I was like, hey, okay, I got it down to nothing for boot time, but also the parser is actually 20% faster. I got that by accident, totally by accident. I was not intending to write a faster parser. So
that's awesome stuff, and I think you really want to tie that into Funqy, make it like the default JSON mapper for Funqy in the future, right?
Yeah. So QSON is actually like it generates bytecode.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reflection, no nothing. So I want to pull that into Quarkus, integrate wherever we're using Jackson. I want to replace it with QSON because I want to reduce the boot time, and I want to reduce the class sizes and all that sort of stuff. So
I still, every time this happens, we go like, man, we have 100 millisecond that's overhead. I'm like, that's the problems we have now, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Remember, like, guys, this is how old we are. Anybody listen? Like 10 years ago, we're talking about application server boot and stuff booting up in minutes. So like,
yeah,
and now we're at 100 milliseconds.
Yeah, and it's still Java. So that's the fantastic part.
Hey, Bill had some other questions. Did I answer them?
Yeah, he says, is it valuable to make composition of function portable? And he says, if I'm calling one Lambda from another, should I still use Funqy?
You should post a dev list about this, because like I saw some. I mean, Spring has some stuff like with function composition and stuff. People really want to use that. People want to do function composition. I don't like it.
You like it, yeah. It's a bit...
Maybe.
Point, right?
Yeah. I'd rather just code it. I don't want to have a composition layer. Anyway.
Yeah, it's basically just called directly from one function to another rather than another abstraction. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah. But Bill Gok, I hope I say his name correct. Bill Gocking. Post to Quarkus Dev, because it's like.
Oh yeah, that's one issue we have is Bill Goggin. We do not have a client framework for Funqy yet. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that, because all the invocation layers are different.
Yeah. So
it's a little bit harder to create an abstraction where the request model is different for each one.
Yeah. And this is one thing that's very everyone to know is like none of us is like can predict the future, or we don't know all the use cases out there. And one thing I've seen in Quarkus the last couple of years is like we have an idea, we make it. Sometimes we hit it, and sometimes we don't. And other times we get like someone shows up Quark Devs like, "Hey, I did this thing the other day, and I can't figure out how to do that in Quark." We go like, "Oh, we can do that in like, well, 2 seconds if Stuart, and others maybe a few days." But yeah, just give any input you have. Just because Bill says he doesn't like it, doesn't mean he can't change his mind.
You can't. Yeah. Even though I'm old, you can still change my mind.
So, yeah, you're not stuck in the old ways.
No.
That works. Okay. Anything else? Are we going to call this a short one? Look, actually, that's one thing I want to say. Like this, like I actually thought Funqy was well. What I like about Funqy now that I've heard you explain it, not just me reading about it, is that I always felt like there's a lot of complexity because I've seen you complain and moan about I can't do this, or this doesn't work that way in Azure and Amazon. But the fact is, you've gone through all that pain, and out comes something that is actually so simple. It's like, oh, that's it. Like, how hard could it be? I like that.
All right, thanks.
So, that's cool.
Well, another point that Bill makes in the comments is that he's struggling with what the grain, like how fine grain a function should be. And
yeah,
I actually think like most people are probably struggling with that, right?
I think it's, to be honest, I think it's kind of ridiculous deploying one endpoint per deployment.
I don't get it either. But
because what I think will happen is like you'll have thousands of these things.
Yeah, and you won't be able to manage it.
And it'll cost you more, money wise.
Yeah.
Anyway, especially if like that particular functionality becomes popular, you know, I don't know. I think it's a Trojan horse to make more money. That's my opinion. I do. So I mean, anyway, I think it's a little crazy to like, from a management point of view, like having one function, 1,000 deployments instead of 10 deployments or 100 deployments.
Well, I think it's also anything we've done, right? This is like go back in time. Like people say, like, why do I need C and high level functions when I can just write stuff in assembly? And then just go all the way. And now we're literally at the point where, oh, I need a computer, like a container for everything I do. This seems
really expensive infrastructure wise, and they got to recoup that cost somehow.
Yeah, but but don't they do caching and like keep things warm and that kind of thing? I think that's the benefit. Like they can scale up and scale down as much as they want without having the zero state. There's no sharing. It's like the ultimate. Yeah, it becomes hard for the user, but for Amazon or any infrastructure, they can just muck around whatever they want, right?
I would love to have a stream of just talking about that and what people think about like functions versus microservices.
Yeah,
because like I'm really skeptical of functions. So even though I'm doing it, I'm skeptical.
That's it. And by the way, William had to go, but he says like Funqy's awesome and look forward to using it in the real project. So thanks for the talk. And then Bill saying, I'm more coarse-grained on lots of examples, but not sure I'm doing right. It's encouraging to hear you see it the same way. Yeah.
Maybe it's just a function of age. I don't know.
I think it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
It's great we can have it.
I think it's interesting if we have lots of different opinions on things like lambdas and the performance and the economics and stuff. It would be an interesting topic on its own. Maybe not for Q Insights thing, but maybe
we actually have forgot when it was episode. I'm gonna look up.
You've done it in the past, yeah.
45, whatever that is. That's 1, 2. That's
in the future.
In the future, 4 weeks from now, we have Aaron Walker, who's he's also an old guy. Well, he's been in JBoss for a while, at least. Not India, but he doesn't work for Red Hat or ever has, but he's worked with JBoss and Seam and Hibernate and stuff in the past, and he did something on Lambda and AWS, and he'll come and talk about that. So yeah, I'll note there and go like, okay, so why are you doing this?
No, he did their did a lot of stuff with their container integration. So that'll actually be an interesting talk
to see how it goes.
Yeah.
So that's you can go on Quarkus Insight repository and you can see when it's up. So yeah,
Everything's open.
everything's open. Yeah. Cool. Well, doesn't seem we're going to get more questions out of people in the chat. Anything else you want to add, Bill? Do we call?
Nope.
You call it?
I'm
Nope.
good.
You good?
Get me
George or
outta
Steve,
here.
get me out of here! Yeah.
That was really good.
No, this thing.
Yeah.
Funqy is so easy. It's input, output, and then.
Yeah. So Max, send me the link to this because my daughter wants to watch it,
Okay.
and then make fun of me later on.
For sure.
So,
We'll do
well, all kids want to be YouTubers now, right? So you show
Yeah.
her how it's done.
Oh, Dad's a YouTuber.
That works. Okay, guys. Thank
Bye.
you. And yeah, see you around. See you next time.
Later.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.